of the people. Sahara of the masses. Sahara.
Hi viewers, welcome back to Sahara TV. My name is Adeola Fayong, and right now we'd like to interview Professor Mojubaolu Okome, who is actually a professor of political science, as well as a well-known African, as well as a professor of African and Women's Studies at Brooklyn College here in New York. She's also an author and a well-known advocate for women and children. Professor Okome, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you.
It's so nice having you, finally. We've been wanting to have you for a long time. But let's start with the most recent developments. They are trying to postpone the elections in Nigeria. What do you think?
I think it's a bad idea. And I was shocked to hear it. And I guess in the internet age, you can get news from anywhere. So a Jamaican friend told me about it, and I said, no, that's not true. And I went and Googled and, found the information. And then I was saying to myself, maybe it's not true because INEC has not made an announcement. And the National Council of the State, is that their name? They had said that the elections were going to go on.
Yeah, that's what
so
we heard.
I thought the word was good enough to take to the bank. So it's a shock to me that the election wouldn't be going on. And I think it doesn't inspire confidence. But it's just one more thing that makes me just wonder about the sense of purpose and, vision that the Nigerian political elite, the people, in government right now have.
The sad thing is we don't really know exactly why they are trying to postpone it right now. They are saying that so that people can get their PVC. Some people are saying so that they can fight Boko Haram because it's dangerous for some people to vote. Either case, in either case, do you think that postponing it is a better option at all?
I don't think so. I think what should have happened is for INEC, which had 4 years between the last election and this one, to have been prepared enough to have given people their PVCs. It was concerning that so many people said anecdotally that they didn't collect their PVCs. The newspapers also reported that. But I thought they were fast-tracking the distribution. And they were giving assurances up until today when this news broke that they were going to cancel elections. I was under the impression that INEC was going to distribute the cards in good enough time for the elections to happen. From what I read in the newspaper, some of the reasons given for the postponement is they want to fight Boko Haram. Now, Boko Haram has been rampaging through the northeast of Nigeria. Did the Nigerian government just wake up? Are they just aware now that when you have an insurgent force that is using terror to assault your people, an insurgent force that is taking over territory, that's a challenge to your sovereignty in that area and a challenge to your territorial integrity. So it's very disappointing to me to hear that just now, on the eve of the election, the government has woken up, realizes that Boko Haram is a danger, and it's going to fight them. It's also disappointing that this is when they are going to show concern for the plight of the internally displaced people who have been thrown out of their homes. They have gone through a lot of trauma. Some of them have lost family members. I'm sure some of them are injured. And then we have refugee populations in the neighboring West African countries to the northeast. Now the government is showing concern. So, I am very disappointed. But, this is something that is also not shocking because it's exactly the kind of response that the government had to the abducted Chibok girls and
Yeah.
other girls and
Recent
women who were abducted before and after. And it was the same kind of reaction they had when people were massacred in Baga and its environs. That, you have this lackadaisical response, and then it seems like they wake up and say something, and then there's no follow through. So it's very disappointing.
And we have to talk about the Chibok girls that were kidnapped. And just before I go into that, you've been talking about how this is like expected of a government like this. And I'm just wondering, has this government that we have right now, has this government disappointed you in any way? And if this present administration has disappointed you, in what ways? And what do you look forward to if we should have a changed government?
If you've been reading the news in recent weeks, it's common to have these allegations about corruption in Nigeria. But, in recent times, the allegations, as well as even, beginning evidence and analysis of corruption in Nigeria, they've escalated. So the level of corruption in Nigeria is shocking. And it is unseemly, to say the least, that we have a government in place that doesn't see this corruption as a problem. And, the reason I'm saying that the government doesn't seem to see it as a problem is that the president has made statements about corruption not being a problem, stealing is not corruption, all kinds of things that you shouldn't expect from the government of a country as important as Nigeria. Another reason why the corruption is alarming is that we have so many Nigerians who live on less than $1, $2 a day. That minimum wage in Nigeria is so minuscule. I think it's something like 19,000 naira. And then we have our officials who are engaged in these grand levels of kleptocracy that, just boggles the mind. There's a lot of missing money. There have been forensic audits. The forensic audits revealed information that have not been made public to the Nigerian people. Even when things are made public, you don't see follow through in terms of corrective action. So corruption. And then I think concern for your people. It is when you, as a government, show that you value your people, that other people would value them as well. And I wonder what the value is that the government places on Nigerian people. If our people are going to be attacked and our government has no response, people are abducted, our government has no response until outsiders show concern. First. And then our government shows concern. Now, one of the most disappointing things to me was that Charlie Hebdo event. When Charlie Hebdo happened, our government was so quick to say they were Charlie. And then this was preceded by Baga. With massacre of our people, destruction of property, lives thrown into confusion, people fleeing for dear life, becoming refugees, becoming internally displaced. Our government doesn't say, I am Baga.
They still haven't said anything about Baga, by the way. Like, to release a formal statement about Baga.
And, when you look at the fact that in official pronouncements that talks about the state of the nation, in addresses to the public that tries to capture people's imagination, the government does not express any sentiment one way or the other about the turmoil that is going on in the northeast of Nigeria. And about the fact that also, we have so many Nigerians whose lives, their condition of existence is so desperate. Instead we have all these extravaganzas and we want to celebrate the fact that we're the biggest economy in Africa.
Oh,
What is it worth?
There's nothing really to show
What
for
is
it.
it worth if you are the biggest economy in Africa and you cannot take care of your people?
Exactly. I hate to cut you short, but because of time, I wanted to go to the next question. You've been very active in protesting since the kidnapping of the girls at Chibok. And we actually have some pictures of you protesting. But I wanted to ask you right now, has there been any development, and where do we stand right now? Do we know if the government has done anything? Do we know if our girls are coming back home? We were talking earlier and you said it's almost 300 days now,
Yeah.
that these girls have been abducted.
I think tomorrow or so is 300 days.
Wow.
I am so saddened by this because there are parents who have not seen their children for these many days.
9
And,
months.
we talk about the Chibok girls. At the same time, we have to understand that some girls and women were abducted before.
Even before that. And
Some
even
girls
after.
and women were abducted after.
Yeah.
Some boys have also been abducted.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been killed, while going about their normal day-to-day lives. I am shocked that we have a government that doesn't understand that this is a catastrophe.
It is.
And that doesn't express it in those terms. The Charlie Hebdo thing was,
17 people altogether.
17 people were killed, and the French government raised alarm at the situation and fast-tracked whatever it needed to do to apprehend the people who were responsible. This is what I expect of my country, especially when that country says we have the largest economy in Africa. Nigeria also has an army that up until the Boko Haram situation evolved, I thought it was said to be the largest army in Africa, the best trained army in Africa.
Yeah, I think they still
the
say
most
that.
professional army in Africa. And the issue of corruption has permeated the army too.
Now we're waiting for AU to come and rescue us.
Okay, AU is now going to send 7,000 and something
500,
troops to come and help Nigeria. I don't see any problem with this actually, because if a country assesses its capacity and you see that you can't cope, you are free to ask for help. So, but you do that in a proactive way, not coming from behind, not giving one message one day and then giving a contrary message on the next day. So, even in terms of messaging, the government hasn't shown any competence.
Wow, it's very disappointing, but I wanted to ask you that till today, I don't know whether you know that, but there are still people who believe or who are saying that, how do we even know that anybody was kidnapped? How do you reply to people like that? They said it's a propaganda to make the government look bad.
Well, I think in some way the government was responsible for people feeling that way, because I don't think there was any sort of indication from the government that it believed that the girls were missing until about 3 months or so into their being missing. Also, there was a lot of misinformation. There was all that acting on the part of the president's the first lady. The first
lady, yes, the drama.
Which some people said was fact-finding, but I find it to be really atrocious. So, I think the government itself was sending mixed messages that made people believe that maybe this wasn't true. However, if Nigerians want to bury their heads in the sand and believe that some girls are not, that no girls are not missing, people are just making it up, they need to wake up. They need to realize that, yes, our citizens, our fellow citizens are missing. These are young girls who went to school, and they were kidnapped. And I want to ask Nigerians, if these were their children, how would they feel when people say, oh, they're just making it up? Now, it's also important to realize that some parents have died. I think up to about 11 to 13 parents have died since these girls have been missing. Some girls, the only girls who were
came
able
back.
to come back
came
were
back
the
on
ones
their
who
own.
rescued themselves.
Yeah, nobody
and
has
went
been
through
rescued.
very terrible conditions to be able to do so. So, I think we need to really, number one, show more compassion, show more empathy to our fellow citizens, realize that people have better things to do rather than start saying that their children are missing when they are not.
Exactly.
That, there's evidence of those girls being missing. And if it's a case of people not reading the newspapers, they need to do so.
They need to wake up.
Because there's enough evidence on that matter. And we need to stop that foolishness. And it's also indicative of the value that we as citizens put on our fellow citizens' lives. It shouldn't have to be that you care about people only if they're your relatives or your best friends.
Well, I'm rounding up, and I wanted to know what you think Nigerians should focus on as they make their decision in this coming election. So far, the drama has been about the religion of the candidates. For a long time, it was about school certificate, educational qualifications, and also the tribe. Or it has to be somebody from the north, or no, it has to be somebody from the south. They have to do 2 times complete. What do you think that we should focus on right now? And what do you think of what we've been focusing on so far?
Political scientists say that religion is important.
Okay.
Or have realized that religion has an important part to play in civic life. So, people also can assess who they want to vote for according to any parameters that works for them. Okay. However, I think Nigeria is in crisis. I think that given the fact that our external reserves have declined really seriously, the money in the oil reserves have declined also really horribly. The petroleum prices internationally are also in decline and maybe free fall. So the source of Nigeria's revenue is threatened.
Yes.
The country has Boko Haram devastating.
These are things that people should focus on, right?
In the Northeast, we need to have somebody who has a sense of purpose, somebody who has a clear record of efficiency, somebody who can clearly articulate a vision and have a sense of mission in terms of these are the goals, these are the objectives, and these are the ways in which we're going to go towards them. So Nigeria, and I think that the present administration has had a good number of years to demonstrate what it's capable of doing.
Okay.
I think that Nigerians need to weigh that against the challenges that the country faces and realize that they should pick people who are capable of moving Nigeria forward. So that when we say Nigeria is the largest economy in Africa, it does mean something.
Exactly.
It does mean a country that takes care of its people, a country that wants to compete, on an even footing with progressive countries in this world. Not a country that is laughed out of the room.
Wow. Well, I don't know what else to say after that. I would just like to thank you, for coming into our studio today and talking about these things. And the fact that you're a female activist, we really appreciate that because, believe it or not, but we don't have enough female representation in Nigerian politics. We have women. I'm so glad we have a female candidate contesting for presidency as well. But I wish more women would speak out because we are directly affected, by so many things that are going on. So you are an inspiration, is what I'm trying to say, and we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right, viewers, that has been Professor Mojubaolu Okome, and I'm sure that you've enjoyed our time with her in the studio. Stay tuned, we still have much more to come.